talk briefly about managing time. One of the challenges that we have. I have found in my own personal study of the concept of time management that perhaps the management of time is a pursuit in futility. Let me break it down. What I mean is, you try to manage time, you're perhaps wasting time. Two things you should think about time, you should know about time. Number one, time is a finite commodity. How many minutes are there in each hour? 60. How many seconds are there in each minute? 60. And there are 24 hours in each day. There is a finite amount of time that is available to humanity. Does that make sense? So why do we worry so much about managing time? There is another resource that you can learn to manage. And I'm not saying you shouldn't try to manage time. I'm just saying that in the management of time, you will soon discover that there are only 24 hours. There's another resource that exists that I would encourage you to learn to manage. And this is very powerful, ladies and gentlemen, take notes. We need to learn to manage our energy. In addition to the pursuit of managing time, you should spend more of your time managing energy. Now let me explain. Unlike time, energy is not finite. Think about it. Is it the amount of energy that the sun produces? The amount of energy that the oxygen and carbon dioxide around us produce? Energy is just, it's all over the place, isn't it? But how do we increase our energy? Because if we increase our energy, then time wouldn't matter. And I'll demonstrate this with something practical that we all know. Given all the time in the world to do a task, are we able to do the task? Not necessarily so. So even when you have all the time, you've got 6 hours to do something. What prevents you from utilizing those 6 hours effectively? It's not the 6 hours. It is what? It's the amount of energy that you have. If your energy level is down, there's an absolute limit to the amount of productivity that you can do, no matter how much time you have. Am I making some sense? So what we need to focus on is doing the things that will help us to manage our energy, so that we will have enough energy irrespective of the amount of time. So what are the things we must do? We must look at our lives and look at things like, number one, I tell people all the time, who you are is what you eat. It's so important. You hear people say this all the time, you think it's a joke. I tell you sincerely, who you are is what you eat. The amount of energy you have is a function of the amount and the quality of food that you eat. And you know, sometimes it's not about the quantity of food. It's really about the quality of food. I've read a book recently where the writer said, a nutritionist, that, you know, interestingly, the quality of oranges that were eaten 200 years ago is very different from the quality of oranges today. So when you say oranges contain vitamin C, you need to understand that the vitamin C of 1909 is quite different from the vitamin C of 2011. And do you know why? Because it's no longer organic, isn't it? The amount of fertilizer that goes into the production of orange, the amount of the soil, the quality of the soil itself in which these oranges are being fertilized is considerably different. So ladies and gentlemen, if you think that indulging in all manners of diets and eating is going to give you energy, you are missing the point. In fact, sometimes the more of it, the more toxic it is. So we need to be really careful and manage what we eat. A good diet, and you know, when you talk, you're wondering now, Gbitse, are you a dietitian, are you a nutritionist, are you a leadership trainer? The truth about it is that we're trying to build effective leaders, and leaders tap up all the time and say that time management is an issue. So my first take to managing time is manage your energy, not your time. Manage your energy by 1, improving your diet, eating less carbohydrates, more proteins, and more especially more vitamins, minerals, and fiber. Because those are the things that make you healthy. And I'm serious. Second thing is to get enough exercise. You know, people say, well, somebody is slim, so he doesn't need to lose weight. So therefore, he doesn't need to exercise. I tell you sincerely, as a young child playing football on the streets of Festac in Lagos, I learned very well that when I want to play football very well, my best footballing days, and anybody who plays or does sports knows this, is the day that you exercise properly before you get into the field. Does anybody get what I'm talking about? Spot on. So there is no doubt that there is a positive correlation between fitness and your productivity. And fitness is not somebody is fat or someone is overweight. No. There are many skinny people who are not fit because they do not exercise. Am I making some sense? So find the time to exercise, however small, every day. And the third thing I would say is find the time to rest. And I have learned very profoundly that rest, ladies and gentlemen, is not necessarily sleep. Sleep is good. I'm talking about the sleep you have at night. But I tell you sincerely, if you spend 15 minutes in a short nap, in a small meeting room somewhere in your office, during your lunch break, if you have a shorter lunch and a 15-minute nap somewhere quiet, you may be much more effective than the person who's had a huge lunch and is waiting to sleep at night. Ladies and gentlemen, learn to manage your energy, because energy, unlike time, is an infinite commodity. You cannot determine the amount of energy that you are going to dissipate, but I can confirm to you that in 24 hours we will be in a brand new day. Am I making some sense?